evening. I'm Elizabeth DeLugri, Vice Chair of Undergraduate Studies. On behalf of the faculty, the staff, and the friends of the UCLA Department of English, I welcome you to our undergraduate commencement. Our ceremony will begin with the procession of our graduating students. You entrusted these students to us a few years ago, and we return them to you with a BA added to their accomplishments, reflecting many years of hard work and dedication. We know that you are deeply proud of our graduating students, our newly minted degree holders from one of the most highly ranked literature programs in the country. As faculty, we share your pride, your excitement, and anticipation for the class of 2012. We have truly loved working with this generation of students who have come to understand and to appreciate the great historical depth and geographical breadth of the field of literary studies, and to share that enthusiasm about how literature can help us understand the complexity of what it means to be human in the 21st century. The English department faculty thank you for the great privilege of instructing and mentoring this stellar generation of students. For us, this day brings mixed emotions, happiness and pride at the achievements and the bright future of our graduates, and a heartfelt sadness at their departure from our classrooms and from our program. When you compare your graduate to the person she or he was a few years ago, you see someone who has grown older and, we hope, wiser, more thoughtful, more articulate, and more discerning. And now, I'm so proud to present to you the UCLA English Department's graduating class of 2012.
Good evening. My name is Ali Bedad, and it is my great honor to serve as chair of the Department of English at UCLA. It is therefore my privilege today, on behalf of the department's faculty and staff, to welcome you all, graduates and guests, to this once-in-a-lifetime rite of passage. You now belong to a very special class of educated citizens in America who has had the thoughtfulness, insight, and courage to major in English literature. And I particularly appreciate and admire your decision in light of my own personal history of becoming an English professor. As a middle-class boy growing up in the Middle East in the 1960s, I was given 3 career options by my parents and culture. Option 1, to become an engineer. Option 2, to become a doctor. And option 3, to be a failure. So you can imagine my parents' reaction when I informed them of my decision to study literature. I never forget the expression of sheer horror on my dad's face when I divulged to him my career choice. Incredulous and horrified, he tried to talk sense into me by warning me that if I majored in literature, I would ultimately be feeling resentful and inferior to my brothers, all 5 of whom, incidentally, ended up becoming engineers, doctors, and 1 a lawyer. Think about it, son, he said. They will all have successful careers, live in great homes, and marry beautiful women from good families, while you will be struggling all alone to make a meager living with your unread books and unpublished poems. Well, I'm happy to report that over 4 decades later, professionally successful though all my 5 brothers are, they all envy my academic career and my privilege in being able to pursue the life of the mind. They all wish they too could spend their days reading great books of literature, teach brilliant students such as yourself, and have enlightened colleagues such as those sitting behind me. Now, I recognize that many of you will go on to pursue careers other than academic ones, but you will have demonstrated the courage, open-mindedness, and intelligence to recognize that in a society such as ours, in which we are compelled to pursue career paths that promise the most financial success, it is fundamental that we have also could acquire the knowledge and skills important for life as an informed citizen and as a reflective and culturally literate human being, to use the words of Harvard English professor Louis Menand. Whatever career you will pursue from this point on as English graduates, you are fortunate to have been exposed to works and forms of knowledge that have enlightened and empowered you. You should also thank your parents and your lucky stars to have been encouraged to take advantage of an education in the humanities. Now, for the rest of your lives, you are the proud alumni of the Department of English at UCLA. You should take pride in being critically informed and intellectually sophisticated citizens, equipped with analytical reasoning, critical thinking, and writing and communicational skills that will make you stand out above all others in any professional setting. This is your day, a time for your family and friends to come together to acknowledge your many achievements and celebrate your great accomplishment. I'm extremely proud to stand before you who are the newest graduates of our program, and to stand before this illustrious group of scholars and teachers behind me. They are unquestionably one of the finest faculty in the nation, teaching the wide variety of literatures written in English. We are the number 7 English department in the world, according to London Times. And we can all be proud that this excellent faculty serves as the greatest public university in the world, an institution owned by the people of California and open for the greater good of people across the world. For access to education ought to be treated as one of the most basic of human rights, not a privilege of a few. I hope that as all of you go out into the world, you will not forget how important it was for you and will be for generations to come to have access to a public university offering the finest educational opportunities available in the world to anyone who might wish to embark on this life-changing course. As you may know, our undergraduate programs in English and American literature and cultures have the largest number of student majors in the humanities at UCLA, and the largest number of English majors of any university in the country. And I think we all know why we have the most majors. It is because of the magnificent scholars and stellar teachers who sit behind me today. It is because they learn and care about literature and critical thinking that they are an outstanding group of teachers who feel passionately about liberal arts education. And you have learned well. You are a highly diverse and sophisticated group of students, now prepared for a great variety of careers and adventures. Many of you are planning to take your skills and knowledge out into the world to such widespread locales as Korea, Spain, and France. Some of you will spend times in England Africa, Iceland, Thailand, and England. We have graduates here today who are also planning to go into the Peace Corps. There are some who are planning for careers in the entertainment and music industries, public relations, teaching, retail management, marketing, investment banking, and even fashion. You have faced great challenges in order to get to where you are today. Most of you began your studies at UCLA straight out of high school or as transfer students from community colleges. Most are graduating today in your early 30s with the bulk of your life and career before you. But some of you have returned to complete your degrees even after having established other careers. Some of you will be attending graduate programs at schools from UCLA to the University of Toronto, including UC Berkeley, UC Irvine, UC Santa Cruz, USC, Stanford University, George Washington University, University of Missouri, University of Pennsylvania, Hunter College, the School of Audio Engineering, the Iowa Writers Workshop, and Cambridge University. You will be attending culinary schools, business and education schools, film schools, nursing and medical schools, and exploring programs in speech language pathology, public policy, and publishing. Many of you have been accepted into prestigious law schools such as Cornell, Chapman University, Loyola, the University of Texas at Austin, UOP, McGeorge, and Pepperdine. No matter what your pursuit, we know that what you have learned as an English major has brought together your passion and your intellect, a combination that has prepared you to go into the world and make a difference. Be an opener of doors, as Ralph Waldo Emerson admonished us. And to be the opener of a door, he added, you do not go where the path may lead you, but you go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. One group that has achieved the marriage of passion and intellect and has therefore opened some doors for us is the English department. In the English department is our wonderful support group, the Friends of English. The Friends are individuals who provide invaluable support for the department and we hope benefit from its scholarly mission. Now, in order to recognize those exceptional students among you who have won the departmental honors and awards, it is my pleasure to introduce my valued colleague, Lowell Gallagher. An incredibly dedicated teacher, Professor Gallagher is the director of our honors program. His illuminating scholarship focuses on Renaissance literature and culture, early modern English Catholicism, sexuality and gender, and 19th century opera. Lowell Gallagher.
Thank you. On behalf of the Department of English, I am very pleased to acknowledge the department's graduating seniors who have earned recognition or received awards for their sterling academic achievement. Before proceeding, I would like each of you to join me in a thought experiment. As you hear the names called, try to imagine the sound of a pin dropping. And here's the hard part of the experiment. Please hold your applause until all the names are read. The experiment, I know, is a long shot, since enthusiasm does tend to win out over a silly rule. But if you give it the old college try, it'll be easier to hear everyone's name. To each of the students, I ask that you please stand when you hear your name, and please remain standing until all the names have been announced. Winner of the 2010-2012 Clara Rusk Hastings Scholarship for Excellence in the English 10 series, Caroline Hurst. Winner of the 2011-2012 Harold D. Fox Memorial Scholarship, Jennifer Michelle Weil Lee. Winner of the 2011 Peter Rotter Essay Prize, Daniel Hugh Jones. winner of the 2012 Departmental Essay Contest and the 2012 Peter Rotter Essay Prize, Elizabeth Wang. The following students participated in departmental honors during the 2011-2012 academic year: Serbui Karapetian, Lauren Matern, Matthew McGaw, Vaihang Zhao. The following students have earned departmental honors at the honors level: Sarah Adibzadeh, Shay Blagan, Matthew Lee, Samantha Masunaga, Railing Erica Jung. The following students have earned departmental honors at the highest honors level: Caitlin Dorch, Carla Garibian, Trevor Hirschberger, Caroline Hurst, Annie Wang, Arit John, Melisande Johnson, Travis C. Lau, Stephanie McCallor, Caitlin McLaughlin, Michelle Mikawaichik, Tom Quach, Latoya Ravano, Lloyd Robinson, Sarah Rogazin, Yasmin Washanian, Kelsey Sharp. Co-winners of the 2012 Thompson Prize for Best Honors Thesis in Creative Writing, Arit John and Latoya Ravano. Co-winners of the 2012 Thompson Prize for Best Honors Thesis in Academic Research, Travis Lau and Kelsey Sharp. Winner of the 2012 Shirley Dorothy Robbins Award for Fiction, Arit John. Winner of the 2012 Ruth Brill Scholarship for Fiction, Tom Quach. Winner of the 2011 May Merrill Miller Award in Fiction, Yasmin Ushanian. Co-winners of the 2012 May Merrill Miller Award in Poetry, Latoya Ravano and Rayleigh Erica Jung. Winner of the 2012 Fred Weld Herman Memorial Prize for Poetry from the Academy of American Poets, Gabriel Malikian. Finally, would all graduating members of our local UCLA Alpha Gamma Omega chapter of the International English Honor Society, Sigma Tau Delta, please stand and be recognized. Congratulations to all of you.
Please be seated. Thank you, Lowell. Before we proceed further, I hope to take a moment here and ask that you take a look around the stadium. Witness the support and love of those around you who have done their part to get you to this celebration today. These are the people who have provided you with the means of developing your greatest abilities to make the most of yourself. Please join me in recognizing the many, many people, sisters and fathers, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles and cousins, spouses and partners, sons and daughters, all who have contributed and sacrificed so much so you can celebrate your success tonight. So in part, what you take away from your experience with books is the recollection of all the grandeur and sadness of brevity of time. At the same time, I hope you have experienced what I believe we all on this stage have experienced, the beauty and inspiration that words can create. A simple glimpse into something new, greater, inspiring, sublime. As Lord Byron eloquently put it, but words are things, and a small drop of ink falling like dew upon a thought produces that which makes thousands, perhaps millions, think. At the same time, you have been put through a trial marked by papers and tests, and deadlines and grades. We celebrate today the accomplishment of this trial as majors in the Department of English at UCLA. You have finished, or some of you nearly finished, a difficult course of study that has involved long hours of reading, writing, memorizing, and analyzing. So as eternal students of what we teach, I and my colleagues thank you and congratulate you for your years of hard work and your success along the way. I and all of us from this platform salute you. Congratulations, graduating class of 2012. You are the brightest, the most thoughtful, the most passionate, and the most eloquent graduates on campus. And do not let anyone tell you otherwise. One of the most rewarding aspects of being chair is the pleasure of working with a remarkable and inspirational group of faculty who possess the supreme art of great teaching. That is the ability to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge, to use the words of Albert Einstein. And in recognition of their great contribution to our department and to our education, it is our custom to feature a faculty speaker at commencement. It is my true honor to introduce our faculty speaker for this year's commencement, a very dear friend and colleague, Professor Anne Mellor. Now, many of you have been fortunate to have taken her courses on Romanticism, British literature, and women's writing, and have benefited from her immense erudition, impassioned knowledge of Romantic poets, and inspiring pedagogy. Professor Mellor, who has taught in our departments for many years now, is the recipient of a Distinguished Teaching Award in 2002 and is an honorary fellow of English Association since 2004. She's the author of numerous scholarly articles as well as numerous path-breaking books, such as Mothers of the Nation, which demonstrates the instrumental role played by women in shaping the public and political opinion in the Romantic era. She has also published other important books on Mary Shelley's life and her monsters, Blake's poetry, and Romanticism and feminism. In light of her great accomplishment as a scholar, it should come as no surprise that she has been the recipient of every distinguished award and fellowship in the United States and beyond. She has received the Keats Shelley Association Distinguished Scholar Award, has been the recipient of 2 Guggenheim Fellowship, an ACLS, an NEH, a Rockefeller, and an Australian National University Fellowship in the Humanities. Khalil Gibran remarked that the teacher who is indeed wise does not bid you to enter the house of his wisdom, but rather leads you to the threshold of your mind. Professor Mellor is that wise and generous teacher who has led so many of you and your predecessors to the thresholds of your minds. Please join me in welcoming her to the podium.
So, why did you major in English? This is the question that your friends, relatives, and especially your parents must have been asking you for at least the last 4 years. And I suspect there was a great deal of skepticism lying behind that question. After all, how can you get a job in English? Of course, there are many practical answers to that question, since being able to read correctly and write lucidly are increasingly rare and valuable skills. And you will, in the coming years, collectively discover all of the answers. But that's not what I want to talk to you about today. For there are other reasons to major in English that have nothing to do with getting a job and everything to do with living a life. As Jane Austen insisted in her famous defense of reading novels, these are the works, quote, in which the greatest powers of the mind are displayed, in which the most thorough knowledge of human nature, the happiest delineation of its varieties, the liveliest effusions of wit and humor are conveyed to the world in the best chosen language. Or, as the Irish poet William Butler Yeats once said, poetry gives us the words we need to live by. Which words are those, precisely? I cannot speak for you, of course, but I'd like to tell you today about the words that I have come to live by. For these, I turn to the writer who has perhaps taught me the most, a poet who died when he was no older than many of you, at the age of 25, John Keats. 2 years before he died, Keats wrote to his brother and sister-in-law in America one of the most probing and humane letters in the English language. In this letter, he tried to explain what our lives are for. And this is the question I want to ask each of you to think about, now and in the future. What is my life for? What purpose do I have on earth? Before turning to Keats' answer, let me set you a classroom exercise, one that I sometimes ask my students to perform. It may strike you as a bit ghoulish, but these are troubled times in which we are living, and uncertainty about the future has now become part of our daily world. The exercise is this. Imagine yourself walking through a cemetery and looking at gravestones. Imagine coming to your own gravestone with your name, followed by the dates of your birth and death, and here you should give yourself a long life, at least 80. Then comes the phrase, "Here lies one who." What I want you to do is to finish that sentence. Exactly what words, no more than can be engraved on a tombstone, would you want to sum up your life? Confronting his own premature death from tuberculosis, Keats wrote a long letter in which he attempted to articulate what his own life had been for, and beyond that, what every life might be for. He called the world in which we live the vale of soul-making. Note first that for Keats, we are not born with souls. We must make them. Keats wanted to distinguish our world from the traditional Christian concept of life as a vale of tears. And he wished to put forth, as he said, a faint sketch of a system of salvation which does not affront our reason and humanity. Since to my mind, his vision is the most life-enhancing and inspiring that I have encountered in all of English and American literature, I wanted to share it with you today. Keats begins by differentiating a soul from the mind or intelligence. We are all born, he writes, with intelligences or sparks of the divinity in us. But these are not souls, quote, till they acquire identities, till each one is personally itself. How then, he asks, are souls to be made? How then are these sparks, which are God, to have identity given them so as ever to possess a bliss peculiar to each's existence? Keats then suggests that suffering, anxiety, uncertainty, all the fears and pains that each of us have known personally, that America as a nation has known collectively since September 11th and the economic recession that has followed, all that suffering, Keats argues, is necessary to make a soul. For Keats, a soul is made when three grand materials act upon each other over a number of years. First, the intelligence, our capacity for thought and reason. Secondly, the human heart, our capacity to feel. And third, the world, the realities of everyday existence. Invoking a metaphor particularly appropriate for us today, Keats explains, "I will call the world a school instituted for the purpose of teaching little children to read. I will call the human heart the horn book used in that school. And I will call the child able to read the soul made from that school and its horn book. Do you not see how necessary a world of pains and troubles is to school an intelligence and make it a soul?" As Keats continues, the world is a place where the heart must feel and suffer in 1,000 diverse ways. Not merely is the heart a horn book, It is the mind's Bible. It is the mind's experience. It is the tit from which the mind or intelligence sucks its identity. As various as the lives of men are, so various become their souls. Translating Keats's impassioned words, words that I hope you will come to live by, as I have, into my own homelier terms, I would say this: each of us is born with an intelligence, and equally important, an imagination. We are given the mental capacity to think of our lives as a whole, to see ourselves as having a beginning, middle, and end, to imagine ourselves as that finished story we could write on our gravestones. The plot or narrative we would each write for our life reveals our deepest values. Would you write yourself above all as one who succeeds professionally, as one who makes a great deal of money, as one who achieves fame, as one who creates and nurtures a family, as one who sustains loving relationships with friends, as one who sacrifices one's own interests to serve the needs of others? As we draw on the resources of our minds and hearts to write that unique story, the narrative that is our single individual self or soul, Keats insisted, we cannot exclude the fact that we will suffer, that hunger, sickness, pain, loss, death, grief are integral to the human condition. But if we write a narrative that makes suffering purposeful, that uses our private losses, disappointments, and grief to help us better understand and sympathize with other people, to help us better comprehend the nature of the human condition, then we will become a stronger and greater soul. Because for Keats, souls exist nowhere but on earth, in the noblest individual lives that we can create for ourselves. And for Keats, it is always literature, the most beautiful and thought-provoking and heartfelt words that human beings have produced over time, and especially the writings of Shakespeare, which Keats virtually memorized. It is literature that can best help us make sense of suffering, and thus enable us to create, in this time and place, our individual souls. And so I send you forth on a lifelong path of soul-making, asking only that every 10 years or so, you pause and take stock of your life, yourself. Ask yourself, am I doing now what I hope to be doing with my life? Am I doing what I will be proud to write on my tombstone? For the world lies all before you, and it is entirely up to you to create that person you aspire to be. And in that process, I predict, you will return time and again for guidance and inspiration to all those life-affirming novels and poems and plays that you have learned to read so well over these past 4 years. Congratulations to you one and all.
Thank you, Anne, for that inspiring speech. In recent years, it has been our custom to ask our alumni to come speak at commencement about their experiences after life at UCLA. And believe me, there is life after UCLA. Indeed, there is a great deal of life after UCLA if you follow Emily Dickinson's wise words, finite to fail, but infinite to venture. I'm pleased to introduce our distinguished alumni speaker today, Michael Elliott. Michael is the CEO of Keynote Studios. Keynote Studios has been highly acclaimed by prominent film and advertising companies across Los Angeles and the world, and is considered one of the best in the field, arguably the best. After graduating from UCLA, Michael spent 8 years on the East Coast, but returned to Los Angeles to pursue his talent in the entertainment field. He started off his venture into the production services industry by driving commercial photographers to shoot in his stepfather's motorhome. Noting the importance of comfort and convenience, Michael purchased a second motorhome, enlisted the help of a fellow UCLA alum and friend, Jordan Keaton, and together in 1995 founded Kyoto Studios. The name of their company, as you have already guessed, Kyoto Studios, is especially meaningful given today's celebration. Using the moniker of the hero in the timeless literary piece Don Quixote de la Mancha, Miquel felt Kyoto's restless optimism and dogged refusal to accept the limits of reality made him a perfect model for his business. I'm honored and delighted Michael has accepted our invitation and will join us today for this momentous occasion. Please join me in welcoming Michael Elliott to the stage.
Wow. Thanks for that introduction, Ali. I got to tell you, I'm so grateful to be here today. I'm thankful. Thank you guys for inviting me. I was an English major, as Ali said, just like you, in a class of 85. I run a Hollywood production studio, and I'm here today to tell you a story. I own and run a company called Kyoto Studios. Yes, Kyoto, named for that iconic, crazy dreamer that I first met while I was studying here at UCLA. We are a Hollywood-based production studio with employees and offices all across the country. And my love for words and reading has enabled me to become a successful entrepreneur. In my opinion, my English degree is the reason for my success. And you will find, like I did, that the skills you've learned in the last 4 or 5 years are essential in today's marketplace. So here's how I ended up on this podium. And I want to encourage you to think about where you might go and what your story might be as I tell you mine. I am what you might call a very enthusiastic fan of words. And these words have impacted my life tremendously. When I open up the book of my life, my adventure, I see 3 distinct literary chapters. My life before UCLA, my life here, and my life after UCLA. If you were to read my short story, it goes something like this. I'm essentially a paper boy from Burbank who's always loved to read. My mom and dad were products of the 50s and 60s in the Valley. And my mom always encouraged me to read. My sister and I, in our early days, spent a lot of the summer at the local library. When I was 9 years old, I entered a reading contest at this library. I entered it with a determination to win. I read 73 books that summer. 73. Turns out, I only took second place in this contest. Can you believe it? Second place is 73, right? Well, turns out the librarian's daughter came in first. I think that contest was rigged. However, what that contest did do for me was seal my absolute desire to read just about everything I could get my hands on. As Don Quixote reminds us, there is no book so bad that it does not have something good in it. Growing up, I always had a book going. I love detective books. I love trying to figure out the mystery before the book ended. I read all kinds of biographies, Abe Lincoln, Ben Franklin, Lewis and Clark, the Hardy Boys, tons of sports books. Lord of the Rings, absolutely. This went on through middle school and high school, the curiosity for the world and its stories, wanting to live out the lives of these characters and these stories. But I really wasn't a studious guy. That is, until I got here at UCLA. When I got here, I felt I needed to study something a little more practical than English. I wasn't certain how useful the degree would be for me in the real world. So I started as, you guessed it, an econ major. I took all those lower division econ classes but it was not inspired. Numbers didn't inspire me as much as words. Words were it for me. The manipulation of these words to create something artful. And it seemed like my English professors were absolutely more passionate about their teaching than my other professors. Or so it certainly seemed that way. Needless to say, I changed my major and I never looked back. I remember my first English class with Professor Allen and discovering Shakespeare. That's where I first met Puck and his famous line, "Lord, what fools these mortals be." And then my senior seminar was so daunting. It was with Professor Solomon, and it was on modern literary criticism. That's where I attempted to understand Jacques Derrida's theory of deconstruction. And then right here, is where I first met Don Quixote. Another reading here. "What giants?" asked Sancho. "The ones you can see over there," answered his master, "with the huge arms, some of which are nearly 2 leagues long." "Now look, your grace," said Sancho, "what you see over there are not giants, but windmills, and what seems to be arms are their sails that go round in the wind and turn the millstone." "Obviously," replied Quixote, "you know nothing about adventures." And so to my adventure post-UCLA. My first job out of college was a computer sales job. Turns out the guy that hired me had a master's in English. Go figure. We immediately bonded. We pontificated that having an English major gave us some kind of special insight that others didn't have. Right? I did that for 8 or 9 years. I sold these computers. But through those years, I had that same feeling I had when I was a freshman econ major. There was something missing. I was bored big time. I made good money for a young guy. I was pretty good at that sales, but it was not inspired. Once I made the commitment to start my own company, I could feel the days of studying those great writers come flooding back. As Quixote would say, hunger is the best sauce in the world. Originally, I got into the entertainment business to make movies and become some big shot film producer, just like everyone does. At that time, my dad had a motorhome. He rented out to producers. I bought one, and we teamed up. I soon realized that no one was very serious about serving these guys who were making movies. So I found a business partner, and we got serious about servicing these guys. Turns out the guy I partnered with, Jordan, was also an English major at UCLA. Yeah, there are 2 of us doing this. It's in a very elite crowd as UCLA majors. We poured through our college literature books to come up with a name for the company. And so it made sense that a couple of English majors from UCLA would subscribe to the life of Don Quixote, a man obsessed with dreaming, a man obsessed with pursuing the chivalrous ideals touted in the books he read. Thus it became the company name, Quixote Studios. Another reading from Quixote. To think that the affairs of this life always remain in the same state is a vain presumption. Indeed, they all seem to be perpetually changing and moving in a circular course. Spring is followed by summer, summer by autumn, and autumn by winter, which is again followed by spring. And so time continues its everlasting round. I can't tell you how valuable this view into alternative realities has been for our business. Our vision for our company came from our dreams, our ability to see windmills differently. It was around the start of my business that I began to keep a journal. my life began to feel it began to feel like I had a little more purpose, and there might be some kind of destiny I should document. So for the last 20 years, I've written about my feelings, my travels, my goals. I've collected little treasures. Journaling has allowed me to connect with my inner English major. In this crazed, media frenzied age, it's almost an absolute to have something like a journal, something that causes you to slow down and reflect on who you are. This journaling has helped me build our business and our business philosophy, which encompasses a passionate approach to helping others achieve their dreams. On a daily basis, we get clients coming into our studio, celebrities, producers, directors, and they are often risking their careers by turning some creative idea into media content. It is our job to enable them in whatever manner possible. We are the Sancho to their Quixote. Using my background as an English major and applying what I learned, I've now created a successful business venture. And finally, from so little sleeping and so much reading, his brain dried up and he completely went out of his mind. And sometimes that's just what it takes. A little reading, a little crazy, and a whole lot of stamina. My beautiful wife, Darren, and I have 3 amazing kids. Thank you. We teach our kids to be fearless in their pursuits and to be avid readers. We read to them every night, and often they request that I tell them a story of my own. I make up all kinds of great stories for them, and all of these are based in some book I've read in the past. It's inspiring to know now that our 8-year-old daughter Laurel has the same passion for reading as I do. And her sister and brother, Ruby and Brandon, are right behind them. And so it was that UCLA gave me a tangible degree. But more importantly, my experience here honed my passion for learning and becoming. I was inspired by this guy that I met in a book, and the fact that Quixote was a consummate dreamer inspired me to live mine. The same quest is embraced by my family and my company. We've learned how to spin a yarn and appreciate others' sacred stories. The power of words, weaving in and out of who we are as human beings. I have learned that this love of literature provides a platform on which to stand. And from that vista, you will see not only through your eyes, but the eyes of all those literary characters you've met along the way. After all, if I had not been an English major, I may have never had the opportunity to meet Quixote. Who have you met along the way that will inspire you? What story will you write in your life's journal? Here's to your quest, your courage, your dreams. Here's to you, and here's to your story. Congratulations, class.
Thank you, Michael. That's a wonderfully inspiring speech. It's an honor to have you come back today to your alma mater as our alumni speaker. You're always welcome here. You always have a home in the English department. Dear graduates, I expect you have, for the most part, enjoyed your years here at UCLA as a major in our department. I also expect that your experiences have offered you the opportunity to hope and to dream about your future, even as you fear that you have no control over that future. Your many professors at UCLA, and I envy the journey you are about to undertake. Every dream, every possibility lies before you. Not that the prospect of an uncertain future is easy nor comforting, but as Gibran also says, march on, do not tarry. To go forward is to move toward perfection. March on and fear not the thorns or the sharp stones on life's path. We truly believe that what you have learned here will serve you in some way as yet unsure, and as you move into your future, remember us. You will always have a home here in the Department of English at UCLA. You will always be a Bruin, and you always are welcome as a friend of the department. Congratulations again.